must attend, so she will be here shortly. And we will normally have public comments at 8 p.m. However, we don't have anyone signed up. Is that correct, Becky? Okay, so we're going to move along in the agenda to our presentation by the Lee F. Jackson School.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you. Thank you for having us here this evening and presenting. Good evening, school board members, Dr. Chase, Dr. Valenti, Ms. O'Neill, Ivy. Thank you very much for having us host the Board of Education. It's always an exciting event for us, and we're always so excited to present the wonderful happenings that are taking place for the Lee F. Jackson children. So with me tonight, I'd like to introduce my wonderful teachers that will be presenting with us. I have Christina Bertolacci, she's a kindergarten teacher. Alexandra Bucci, speech and language pathologist. Kathy Holmes, kindergarten teacher. I have Alexa Williams, a first grade teacher. And Loshan is our Mandarin teacher. And I also want to acknowledge our couple of other teachers that are here, Angela Makem and Tony Lamana. Mr. Bell is here to support his teachers as well. I'm going to give him a shout out. And of course, Mr. John, he's here always to protect and watch over our children. So we're going to open up tonight with a short video of a day in the life of the Lee F. Jackson students.
And I'm going to share some information about literacy instruction here at Lee F. Jackson. All kindergarten and first grade classrooms have a daily literacy block, and within the block, teachers use explicit instruction, differentiated learning, and provide time for independent application of skills and knowledge. At Leah Jackson, all students receive Foundations as the word study portion of their literacy block. Students engage in a daily 30-minute multisensory lesson. Foundations lessons focus on carefully sequenced skills, including phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, reading, spelling, handwriting, and vocabulary development. In the reading portion of the literacy block, Fontes and Pinnell classroom resources are used to support whole group, small group, and independent learning opportunities. During this time, students think, talk, read, and write about authentic text across many different instructional contexts, including mini lessons, interactive read-alouds, shared reading, guided reading, and independent reading. For students that struggle with reading and reading comprehension, level literacy intervention is provided in addition to the daily literacy instruction taking place in the classroom. Writing is taught explicitly, and it's embedded in all areas of curriculum. The Writing Revolution method enables students to master the skills that are essential in order to become confident writers. In K1, we begin at the sentence level. We also use the Daily 5 framework within the literacy block. Students select from 5 different authentic reading and writing choices. There's read to self, read to someone, listen to reading, word work, and work on writing. Each of these components allow for universal design for learning and student choice. While the students are working in different literacy stations, the teacher meets with students in small groups and one-on-one, guiding them in their next steps as readers and checking in on their progress.
Good evening. I'm Ms. Williams, and I'm going to share a bit of information with you about Math and Focus and Daily 3. Math and Focus is a curriculum we utilize here at Leah Jackson. It is a district-wide program. Math and Focus is a curriculum with problem solving as the center of math learning and concepts, and taught through real-world hands-on experiences. With Math and Focus, we strive for students to be able to conceptually understand various topics through the use of visual learning and problem-solving experiences. With Daily 3, after Math and Focus, we then transition into our math centers, better known as the Daily 3. Students are grouped into appropriate groups based on current level of performance and skills and support work. Daily 3 entails math with someone, math by myself, and math writing.
Hello, I am Kathy Holmes, and I am a kindergarten teacher here at Leah Jackson. I'll be talking about International Baccalaureate, our social studies in science, STEAM, and social and emotional learning. Our International Baccalaureate program is a philosophy of teaching that provides a framework based on teaching practices for elementary school instruction. It gives us, here at Leah Jackson, we are an authorized primary years program within the Greenberg School District and International Baccalaureate District. Our social studies and science units are both in line with our International Baccalaureate framework. Both were developed by teachers from the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES for teachers throughout the region. Social studies and the science programs are also based on the New York State Common Core learning standards. Our STEAM program empowers teachers to employ project-based learning that crosses all 5 disciplines: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, as access points for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. It teaches problem-solving skills, and the learning occurs when students can explore new things. For social-emotional learning, New York State mandates that schools teach students to develop self-awareness and interpersonal skills that are essential to succeed in school and life. They use these skills to establish and maintain positive relationships and demonstrate these skills in behaviors in their personal, school, and community lives. Here at Leah Jackson, Mr. Ayala, our gym teacher, and Ms. Kelly, our school social worker, both enjoy working with students to help them understand their emotions and show empathy. We are setting the foundation for our children to be socially and emotionally competent citizens.
Good evening, I'm Alexandra
speech language pathologist here at Leah Jackson. Alpine is our district's data collection system that our teachers use to maintain data in the following areas: demographics and mandated assessments such as the New York State English Language Achievement Test. Alpine centralizes district-wide assessments like iReady, as well as data from Fontes and Pinnell, Foundations, cognitive ability tests for ALP placement, and multi-tier system of support. This data is used to help teachers make decisions about their instruction. Further, having data in one location allows streamlined articulation between buildings. The multi-tiered support system, or MTSS, is an umbrella term used for the general education processes that provide support to students who may be struggling academically due to, but not limited to, behavior, social, emotional, speech and language, attention, sensory needs, and more. We have a team here at LFJ that consists of a school psychologist, social worker, special education and general education teachers, occupational therapists, and speech therapists. Using the response to intervention framework, the MTSS RTI team provides 3 levels of intervention. During each tier of the framework, data is collected to monitor the student's progress and evaluate the need for more or less support to the students from one of our team members.
Good evening. My name is Ren Shang. I'm the Mandarin teacher in Leah Jackson School. I'm here to talk about Advanced Learning Program as well as Mandarin Program. Advanced Learning Program is a district-wide enrichment program and first grade enrichment program at Leah Jackson. It is a literacy-based instruction, 1 period per day, which provides educational advancement opportunities. There is topic enrichment through junior grade books, extra activities, and assignments beyond the test, enriched with higher order and critical thinking. Our Mandarin program is featured by a student-centered curriculum with meaningful activities and project-based learning to encourage use of language. We emphasize real-world application, providing students with listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills to promote practical use of language. Thank you.
That's our presentation for this evening. Thank you for having us.
I have a couple of questions. I heard the use of Common Core. Is Next Gen identical to Common Core at this level, or have there been any changes in the last couple of years?
There's ongoing changes to bring the Common Core to the 21st century, and we started to look at the Next Gen standards. We have them in our literacy, that's why the Fontes and Pinnell is aligned, the Math and Focus. So the programs that we currently have been updated to the Next Gen as we're writing our curriculum.
Okay. Regarding social and emotional education, I wasn't completely clear. Are there actual lessons in social and emotional education?
I know that this is a passion of Dr. Chase to bring in the social and emotional, and it's also a mandate. So what we did this year, our school social worker works collaboratively with our phys ed teacher, who also has a health background, and the two of them push in to every kindergarten teacher 1 day out of a 6-day rotation, and they develop lessons, and they are teaching the students by these lessons and games how to interact. We find that 4- and 5-year-olds, they bump into each other and they don't know how to interact with each other. So they're bringing that social and emotional. And we also have had yoga and different other activities. And in 1st grade, my school psychologist, Ms. Sheehan, she's pushing into 1st grade as well.
Good. Finally, regarding Mandarin, you mentioned that there was such a thing as project-based learning in Mandarin. Can you give me an example of a lesson?
So A very recent project-based learning is a celebration of the Moon Festival, where we have a Mandarin theater. Our students were learning, performing the legends of the Moon Festival, and with storytelling and story prediction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they're also learning from dance and song. Okay.
Are there any more questions?
I actually have a quick question.
Yes.
I'm just wondering how you integrate all of these different programs along with the IB philosophy.
So the IB is a philosophy, it's a framework. There are 6 units of study, and within each unit of study we incorporate the ELA, science, social study, there may be some math, depending on the unit of study. And that's embedded throughout the day. We don't have an IB period. For instance, we have one of the IB units are how does the world work? So you're incorporating your science, you're incorporating ELA by listening and reading. There's math lessons that are embedded into the unit of studies as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? I just had quick questions. You mentioned, I think it was the first speaker, mentioned that you had a literacy block of time.
Yes.
Is that daily in kindergarten and first grade? And then how much time is in a literacy block? Is that, you know, once in the morning, once at the end of the day, or is it like in the middle of the day for 25 minutes? Like, is there a time period?
So we have focused our scheduling to provide at least a 90-minute block. So most of the teachers, in the morning we start out day with foundations, which is 30 minutes, and it could go between 30 to 40 minutes. That's our first period. Throughout the day, then we have a literacy block where they have the shared reading, they have guided reading, the daily 5 is all embedded within that block. Teachers normally would see 3 groups within that guided reading block, and it is kindergarten, first grade.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, seeing no further questions, we're gonna move on to the next agenda item, which is the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sears.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate the Lee F. Jackson Elementary School for sharing with us a portion of what goes on here at this school. We appreciate the presentation, and I'm sure you can spend 5 hours just talking about the great things that are going on in this district. And so we appreciate the teachers for staying late, and Ms. Simone for leading the effort. And for leading these efforts. So my report is rather brief this evening. I just want to remind the community that this Thursday, November 21st, is National Parent Involvement Day. Get involved. Come out to the schools. I know that this time of year your schedules are very, very busy, but we ask that you please carve a little time to come into the schools to see what's actually going on. You can see examples of what took place today on November 21st. And then at 10 o'clock, after you have entered the schools and you've engaged in schools, we ask that you come to a breakfast. And it's really an information breakfast where you can learn a little bit more about the school district as a whole. And there also will be a featured speaker that will focus on building healthy minds in our children. And it's part of our social-emotional support to our parents to provide them with tips and tools that they can use at home to support what we do here at the school. I'm also going to remind the community that December 3rd is the Superintendent's Community Engagement Committee dessert. Please join us at 6:30 at Woodlands Middle High School. December 4th, Wednesday, December 4th, is our Superintendent's Community Engagement dessert. This is an informal meeting. We invite the entire community to come out. Whether you have children in the school, you're just a concerned community member. We've also invited our community leaders to just join us to talk about how we can continue to work together. We are on an upward trajectory, and we need everybody to be on board to help us to get to our goal ultimately. My phone is I want to remind our parents that next Wednesday is a half day for all children. It's our Project Save. So please make sure that you plan childcare accordingly. If you are not home parents to receive your children, they will be brought back to school. So we ask that you please make sure that you plan childcare accordingly next Wednesday. It is a half day of school. I want to just talk a little bit about thought exchange. I know quite a few people in the community have asked us about thought exchange and what it is that we're doing with it. As many of you know, our budget proposal was not approved by the community. And so we wanted to get some information from the community in terms of their reasons for voting, in terms of what they would like to see in our school district as it relates to building the infrastructure. We can all agree, whether you voted yes or you voted no, that we need to do something in this district. We haven't done anything with our schools in several decades, and we are by far the only school district that has not done something. We don't want to create dangerous situations for our children, and so we need to continue to work together as a community, as in a school district, to decide on what we can handle as a community. As you know, that we do get up to 10% reimbursement for our building aid, and we know that the burden will continue to be on our taxpayers. The last thing the school district wants to do is burden our taxpayers, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that we need to do something with our buildings. We have buildings that have already been deemed as buildings that have reached their end of life. As you know, the mansion was closed because we are in need of severe repairs there as well. As the months or the days get colder, you know and I know it's been our history that our buildings will begin to show us just how old they are during those cold months, just like your house would, right? And so we have purchased a tool called Thought Exchange. And Thought Exchange is a communication platform, and here's what that means. There'll be a series of questions in which you as a community member can answer. And you can answer the questions. Some of the questions will be closed-ended, some of the questions will be open-ended. And using that data, the school board with administration and community members can begin working on what we can do together to improve the infrastructure here in our school district. I am going to be trained fully, I believe, Thursday, on the use of Thought Exchange. We have a group of people who have volunteered to help distribute this survey to the community, and they will receive an overview on Monday at 7 o'clock. And then once we are all comfortable with the use of Thought Exchange and we understand it fully, we will then go out into the community. So we're looking to do this in a couple of weeks. I don't have a drop-dead date yet, but you will get more information. What I am going to ask the community to do is to continue to look at our website, continue to look at our social media to find out when the survey will be available. We'll email it definitely to all of our families, but we don't want to limit it just to the families. We want this to go out to the entire community as a whole. Those who are even living in the senior citizen developments. We want everyone to have an opportunity to voice their opinion because everyone's comments matter and everyone's opinion matters. So that's where we are with Thought Exchange. The last comment I want to make, well, the second to the last comment I want to make, is I just want to share with the community that the Greenburgh Central School District supports the Movember movement. And the Movember movement is simply a movement where we acknowledge men's health awareness. So you probably have seen on our website men and women bearing these wonderful mustaches and beards, and it's a movement that started abroad where you grow out your facial hair in support of men's health awareness, such as cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and also suicide as it relates to men's health. So you're going to see that quite a few of the men in our school district will be growing out their beards and their mustache. You'll see pictures, and basically it's our way of saying that we support the awareness and we want men to pay more attention to their health, diabetes, blood pressure, and we hope to have seminars for our gentlemen throughout the rest of the calendar year that focuses on that. So it's not just a cute gimmick because we want to show off mustaches, but it is a way of voicing our awareness because we care about men's health as well as women's health. And on that note, in the spirit of giving, I hope in this season of giving that you will consider those who are less fortunate. I say this every year. There are many, many people who complain about a lot of things. But those of us who complain, I want you to think that we are better than most. There are people who wish that we could be in the situations that we complain about. Some of us complain about waking up early to go to work. You know how many people wish they had a job? Some of us complain that, you know, maybe your house isn't as clean as you want it to be. You know how many people wish they had a home that they can call their own. We might complain that our clothes are getting old and we wish that we could buy new clothes. Well, there are people who have to wear the same clothes every single day because that's all they have. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I hope that you will take time to reflect on all the things that you have and that you will reflect on gratitude, the people in your lives, the loved ones, your family, your friends, those you cherish, and that you will also take into consideration giving to those who are less fortunate. The spirit of giving is real, and I always believe that when you give, the return is tenfold. It may not come tomorrow, it may not come next week, but it will come when you least expect it. And that's what we're supposed to do. So I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I wish you and yours the best in this season of giving. And don't forget to exercise gratitude. Thank you all and have a great night.
Thank you, Dr. Chase.
You're welcome.
Next, we have the Assistant Superintendent for Business Report.
Good evening. First, I'd like to make a comment that we have our annual audit that's on the agenda for approval. And I have to really commend the business office and Alicia Madera for all the hard work they've done to get us a clean audit yet again. The traditional report, the general fund beginning balance for September 2019 was $15,523,705.32. The district received a total of $591,060.75 in receipts and issued $2,951,076.35 in payroll checks, and another $2,430,057.82 in accounts payable checks. $200,000 was transferred to the federal funds. The ending balance for the general fund was $10,533,631.90. We issued 918 payroll checks and 221 accounts payable checks for the month, and all were audited. Thank you.
Vice President Ayers, is it possible for Ms. O'Neill just to speak a little bit to the community, because we do have our viewership out there about our audit, because a lot of people may not be aware that the district underwent an audit.
Let me just check with the other board members. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, please, yes.
Okay, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Chase. The district actually has multiple audits every year. We have an internal claims audit that everything that we issue a check for, we have someone actually look at it and approve it before it goes out. We have an internal controls audit where they come in and they look at us as a whole and try to let us know where we can improve on things. We also have an audit every year where they focus on one particular area. Then we have our annual external audit, and that's the one that's on the agenda tonight. They start in May. They come to the district, they start sampling payments that we've had. They look at all of our numbers. Then they come back again in July and August, and they look at everything from July 1st through June 30th of last year. They look at all the other audits that we've had. Our audit, again, was clean, so it's great news. I guess it's good that people realize how much we are actually audited, because we have auditors in and out of the district on a regular basis. We could have Title I audits. We could have, I think our latest audit will be of retirement system payments. So the state will come in and look at those audits as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Ms. O'Neill. To move along with our agenda.
Can we ask a question of Mary O'Neill to explain what she read in her report? She gave figures, but not any definite information, and we would like everybody who's looking to, I didn't understand.
So your report is going to be posted, or it is posted currently?
Is there a report out here on the table for us that are here?
For the audit, you mean?
Yes, for right now. She gave a report. Is it on the table?
For the audit,
No, for what you just read.
well, we read the monthly report,
The
which
monthly
Ms.
report.
Madera provides.
Yes. Is that out here on the table?
It's not currently out there, but if you need a copy of it, we can get it.
Well, if we're going to give a report, I'd like it from all of the members to have something typed up, written up, and on the table so we can see it. Because what she stated, I didn't, and I was at the meeting when the external auditor was here. And I believe he said something about these figures that were there and how much was in a fund that we had that we could use to fix our buildings. And I believe it's something like $2 million, is that correct?
The numbers that I read tonight are completely different than what the auditor mentioned before. The audit,
Right, thank
once
you.
it's approved, will be posted on our website.
For those of us who don't have a website,
If you request it, we can send you one.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so next we have committee reports. Are there any current committee reports?
Yes, I have one, but
So, okay.
I have a committee. Okay. This never works for me. My green light is on. How about, okay, now this one works, okay. So Tracy, are we doing public comments because, no?
No, we did public comments. No one had signed up at 8.
Oh, no one signed up at 8, okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I missed-
nobody signed up. I'm signing up, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's why they were doing the procedures, the presentations, and I didn't want to walk up to the front and interrupt it.
Okay, so would you like Ms. Weems to do her public comment before I do my committee report? or-
Well, I just want to finish committee reports, and then
Okay,
we can,
I will do that.
as a board, decide if we're going to have any public comments.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So my report is going to be short because actually one of the things that Laser Alert, sitting over there, has done is to start posting meeting notes on our committee websites. So if you want to see what was discussed, you can go on the committee pages, and there you will find the reports. And then I also just want to invite all of you to write to the Education and Personnel Committee members with any questions that you may have. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say about the Education and Personnel Committee is that we are currently thinking about changing our meeting dates and times. And if any of you want to give us input on what works for you, whether it would be mornings or evenings, please let us know. We're going to try a little bit of each to see, what works best for us and what works best for the community. And so lastly, in terms of the actual report, at our last meeting, there were two topics that were discussed. One was socio-emotional support in our schools, in particular R.J. Bailey and Woodlands Middle High School. And we basically discussed 3 ideas to help kids. The first was implementation of a program where students will have staff members assigned as mandatory mentors with at least twice a month contact. And so that was in particular for the middle school and high school. And then the other thing that we discussed was opening up what we call a rap room. That was something that was current in the 80s and 90s in the high school, and actually Tracy and I have very fond memories of this. It's a program where kids basically have a kind of a safe space with an adult who's a trained psychologist or social worker, where they can go during their free periods, hang out, talk about their problems, get peer support, and get professional support. And then the last thing that, that Tracy suggested was that maybe we could have a kind of a mindfulness room, which would be a positive addition to social and emotional support, again, at the middle high school. So that was one of our topics of discussion. And then the second thing that we discussed was the K through 12 literacy programs and resources. And you can actually find the present, so this was presented by Dr. Valenti and a few of his staff, and you can find sort of a summary of this also now on our committee page, so I'm not going to belabor the point. And I think that right now our next committee meeting is going to be on the 10th, but we're not sure. To be determined. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Are there any other committee reports? I have a report from the Governance Committee, but I don't know if anyone else wants to go first.
You want me to go first? I have two.
You can go.
Ashley has one. You have, all right.
First reports from the Community Engagement Committee. Community Engagement Committee met on 11/13/19 at 6:30 p.m. at Woodlands. We discussed our request for proposal for architecture and engineering services. We're looking for an architecture and engineering firm to provide a complete estimate for mansion repairs and an updated building conditions survey. We are looking for a second engineering firm to provide independent confirmation of the scope and costs cited by our primary firm. The Facilities Committee has been working on this. I'll read the Facilities Committee report right after this. 2, we discussed our Governmental Relations Committee trip to the state capitol, and Ashley has information on that. Ashley, would you like to talk about that at this point?
Sure. I was going to make that part of the Governmental Relations Committee minutes, but I can do that now. So on Tuesday, November 12th, we actually had a very important meeting. We were invited by specifically 2 individuals from Albany, Mr. Todd Schuerman and Mr. Secretary of the New York State Senate Finance Committee, and Mike Swanson, Director of Educational Finance in Albany. They invited us to go talk to them about our lack of building aid. Dr. Chase, Mary O'Neill, Tracy Mears, David Warner, and myself accompanied them on the trip. We had a nice conversation. We started off talking about the need that we have of our buildings and the current state that they're in, and how we need additional funding from the state to help us put less of a tax burden on our taxpayers while still addressing the needs of our infrastructure. In that conversation, we mentioned the current conditions, including the roofs, the mansion, the evacuation that happened to VCP, as well as the general financial inequities, including the lack of significant state aid that led us to where we currently are. As part of that conversation, we mentioned several different strategies of what we can do working with the state to try to improve the funding, as well as questioned how is it that the formulas are currently calculated, that in many cases they've reported to us that we have a very similar funding ratio as Scarsdale based on their calculations. Some of the feedback we got from them were ratio of residential to commercial properties and the tax implications from that, as well as the current level of enrollment in our school versus other school districts. In short, there were 3 main options that we agreed on to look forward to addressing our problem. Option number 1 is general state aid reform, which is just the entire state coming together and reforming the aid ratios, which we were told is very unlikely to happen, but it's an option. Option number 2 was the option of finding a similar school district or small set of school districts that are in a similar situation, and seeing if, as a group, those school districts could lobby against Albany and say, hey, we need assistance, which we think is an option, a viable option. And option number 3 being the special case option, in which we find something that is unique to our district that can qualify us for essentially what would be a one-time grant that would help address some of our funding issues. As part of that conversation, we objected to some of the conversations and talking points that the state had as to how they got to where they are today. We mentioned to them that, overall we need to do something. And we also mentioned the conversation point that if we need to rally our community and bring our residents, both with children in the school and outside of the school, as well as students up to Capitol Hill to get something done, we will. So they took that point, they understood it, and we left off in basically we're going to have a re-engagement at some point in the next month and a half or so. Mary O'Neill is working directly with Mr. Mike Swanson on finding if there's any kind of data that the district can provide to Albany to help them in any of those three options to help, identify us. Otherwise, either way, we'll be regrouping in December, January timeline, and we will continue pushing this item forward because we think it's critical for us. More to come.
Thank you. All right, after that, we reviewed a list of upcoming district events. Then we briefly reviewed district highlights, including phonics at Jackson, math warm-ups at Highview, STEAM Career Day at R.J. Bailey, Edu Theater at Woodlands Middle High School, and Halloween and Harvest Festival events district-wide. 5, we planned our January CEC meeting. We are inviting Catherine Edor, our Arts and Advanced Learning Program Director, to come and speak with us. We would also like to invite Todd Bench, our STEAM Director, and Brendan Gallivan, our IB and World Languages Director, to come meet with us, and you'll be getting an invitation, Dr. Chase, to see if you want to go forward with that. 6, we heard community concerns. In addition to our existing list, which we shared with you at a previous meeting, this time we said, please be sure and send a thank you letter to our new friends at the Capitol building. Regarding an upcoming bond effort, includes some repair or enhancement for every school. A new wing for additional ECP classes at Lee F. Jackson is a good idea. For the next bond vote, avoid budget time if possible, and avoid local tax times and cold weather. In your more extensive bond survey, ask people again why the bond failed. The gang scare has no basis in reality. Flashing a W sign for Woodlands means you're proud of your school. Doesn't mean there's a mysterious evil Woodlands gang. Praise for Antoinette Darden Syndrome for agreeing to speak at an upcoming Juniper Hill Civic Association meeting. I believe that since happened. A request that school messenger event messages be queued up in advance so they will go out automatically. Request that we start a thought exchange dialogue now. We just heard that we're going to do that. A request for hard copy flyers for newly sold homes and a suggestion that we place copies in the town hall. A call for a new resident outreach. A request that we invite Jackie Burton to attend a future CEC meeting. That's our publicity person. A suggestion that we put up more solar-powered light poles on the Woodlands campus. Being adjourned at 7:48 p.m. The next meeting of the CEC is a superintendent's dessert scheduled for December 4th at Woodlands at 6:30 p.m., which Dr. Chase has already announced. Second report. The Facilities Committee met at R.J. Bailey at 5:30 p.m. on 11/14/19. The Lee F. Jackson parking lot dip designed to slow traffic has been painted yellow so that drivers can see it. If you came in tonight and you suddenly dipped down, you saw it was bright yellow instead of black. Before that, people would suddenly be surprised at night, so we don't want that. So that's been taken care of. We're tracing the underground wires for the non-functioning street lights in the Woodlands Middle High School driveway. So you can't just change the bulbs now, it's the wires underground. We've boarded up the windows of the caretaker's house at the north end of the Woodlands campus. Board of Education Vice President Tracy is consulting with our president and our new legal firm to see if they are as concerned about having a caretaker tenant as our previous law firm was. 4, we deferred further discussion of parking at Woodlands Middle High School, widening the Middle High School driveway, campus beautification, that needs to happen by spring, the addition of electronic gates to secure the campus, and changes to the facility use fees to a future meeting. We had too much else to do. We reviewed proposals for a total of 9 candidates for our Architectural and Engineering Services RFP and recommended 4 finalists to be interviewed by the Board of Education. We also reviewed proposals for 4 candidates for our Engineering Services Only RFP and recommended 2 finalists to be interviewed by the Board of Education. The two finalists for the Engineering Services RFP are also finalists for the Architecture and Engineering Services RFP, so the board will need to interview a total of 4 people and select 2 winners. One the primary and one sort of the watchdog. 7, we discussed possible items to include in an upcoming bond. Repair items categorized as part of the building envelope should have the highest priority, since the envelope protects the building contents from water damage, so it's roofs, windows, curtain walls. Single pane windows should be replaced with a double pane windows to reduce heat loss in cold weather. A small ECP wing addition could fit into an under $30 million bond if the costs from the envelope fixes are too great, and we'll find that out when we do our new building condition survey once we've hired our firms. We need to await new building condition survey cost estimates from the architecture and engineering firms the board will select, and then share descriptions and costs with the public. 8, we discussed R.J. Bailey heating, auditorium fixes, and bathroom repairs. The meeting adjourned at 6:57 p.m. After the meeting, committee members checked the bathroom stall doors, some were newly installed, and inspected the auditorium. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. I'm going to read the governance committee meeting minutes. Our meeting was held on, let me just get the right date for you. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, November 4th. And, sorry. And the meeting was held on November 4th. The meeting opened at 7 p.m. We discussed the following: a new board member policy handbook and timelines around that handbook. Currently, as it stands, there's no manual and handbook on how the Board of Education should run for a new board member. So for the last few years, the board has been talking about putting a handbook together, and we're trying to actually make that happen. Currently, the governance committee has a draft that we're working from, and we're going to be looking at that and kind of making additions and changes to it at our next meeting. We talked about ideas around maximizing effectiveness of public comment sessions versus the need to keep our meetings moving forward. We talked about policy revisions and how to ensure that all policies are reviewed on an ongoing basis. And the meeting ended at 8:06 p.m. Our next governance meeting is going to be held on, it's another page I'm trying to get to. December 9th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
We asked a question of the members who gave a report.
Hold on, Ms. Weems, I'm sorry. Are there any other reports currently?
Yes, one more.
Yes, okay.
So I'd like to give the report on behalf of the Governmental Relations Committee. The Governmental Relations Committee met on November 4th. The meeting started at 8:08 p.m. The Governmental Relations Committee discussed the following strategies for alignment of interest with town in terms of aligning the school district with the town's interests as well, to ensure that the next time we go for a bond, everyone's on the same page. We also talked about getting a better understanding on foundation aid and building aid. We also talked about strategies for addressing our building aid from the state, including ensuring we work cooperatively to bring our message to Albany. This obviously all happened before we had the meeting in Albany, and the meeting adjourned at 9 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pineda. Are there any further committee reports? And I noticed that our president has walked in, so I don't know if you want to join us. Next on our agenda is approvals. However, we did have a request from the public at the time, just to bring you up to date, Madam President, at the time of public comment sessions, there was no one here that had signed up for public comments. So we left it open for 5 minutes and then proceeded in the agenda to Leah Jackson presentation. Since then, we've had a request from the public to have public comments.
Well, can we ask questions in reference to your report?
Yeah.
That's what I want to ask, a question in reference to the report.
There's questions on the committee report, and I think there's also.
Madam Vice Chair, can I ask Mr. Pineda a question on his report? No. You're not following Robert's Rules of Order.
Give us a moment. The President's going to take the call.
Yes, Ms. Weems, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Mr. Pineda, on your third point was unique to the district. I don't understand. Did you understand what they were saying when they used that term, and in what area would be that uniqueness that we could use?
So essentially they were saying, what qualities or attributes could we use to single out Greenberg Central School District as opposed to other districts in the state that could justify why they would modify our level of funding and not modify other school districts?
And that could be negative or positive?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have one question in reference to the report. In reference to the bond, the government, you spoke in reference to the government grants that you're pursuing, which is excellent. But the other thing is, when we had the external annual report, the audit report, they also stated that there was a good portion of money in there for the buildings, etc. And if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Chase said decades of, I guess, I don't want to say a lack of maintenance. If there are decades and we have money, why can't we at least start to use what we have? You could continue with the grants and utilize the, the monies that are sitting there, because I think that's very, very important. And then you're going to pay another outside source to come in to review the whole facility. So we need, I think, to be a little wiser and the monies that we do have and start to utilize them appropriately if we have it sitting there. That's what the annual or the external audit confirmed, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, I'm not mistaken. I know we stated that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we do have money.
Yes, the auditor did discuss funds that the district now has set aside for the use of future capital projects. Unfortunately, I cannot just take that money and go start making repairs. We have to go through the board, through the voters. We have to go through the state education department. So it's not just like we can just say, you know what, I want to replace the doors at Jackson. I can't do that.
We understand that. He made that actually very clear. He said there's a portion that you can start to utilize, and there's a portion that you do have to go through the committees one, step at a time. That's totally understood. But hopefully and prayerfully you're doing just that, so that the schools will not be in a condition as Walbrook is as we speak today. That's really an insult. And honestly, it's embarrassing to the community that you allowed a historical building to get in a condition as such as that.
Thank you.
While you all have an independent discussion, can we continue to ask questions? Ms. Kraus, is my name written down to speak?
Our president is opening up for public comments to sign up if you'd like to speak.
Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Weems?
Good evening, Patricia Williams, President of the Fairground Civic Association, and I'm also here as a person who's trying to also see to it that our school district also gets funding, but it also is not at the expense of, I think, seniors. I have lately attended meetings, and it's horrendous to think that people who pay for their houses as they reach the state of what we call elderly, it's now reaching a point where there's a percentage that they can state that when you hit, if you hit 85, there's a strong possibility that you will lose your house on tax liens because you do not have the money to pay them. Now, I have called in, I have spoken to our elected officials, and I have asked all of them to consider seeing to it that when you reach the age of 65 and you are a senior, you will not pay school taxes. So I like the idea that we're going outside of the box to find ways to support our public school system other than on the backs of people who are 65 years and older, on a fixed income, and do not have the money nor the ability to pay their taxes, nor to modify their homes and rent them out. We have to figure out a way that we can do these things, that there's equality and justice and a quality of life to those who do reach 65, and begin to recognize that they don't have the capital to pay school taxes, nor support a 90-year or 30-year bond. So we need to take all of that into consideration when we're thinking about taking doing a bond, and it's going to be on the backs of the elderly. So now I'm asking all those who are 65 and older to consider. I not only ask the legislators to consider this and to take it at heart and seriously consider it, but I've also given them an idea on how the seniors who are homeowners can use their homes for solar energy, and the energy that they get will go to paying their taxes. So now that is something that can work in there. I'm hoping that they're going to consider it, and I'm pulling in people within the community to see to it that can work. And we're moving houses, not houses, the trees from around the houses. There's no cost to the senior citizens to have the solar panels put up. That's why they'll be taking no money away from it. But money will or should be going to the school and our local municipality. So that's it on that one. The other one is I'd like to ask whether or not there is an active investigation on the principal at Woodlands High School and our superintendent. And if so, when did it start and how are we going to handle it? And I'm waiting for an answer now. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair.
So, Ms. Weems, we do not discuss any investigations or personnel matters.
Okay, now, when you follow procedures, the procedures normally would be that if anyone is under investigation, that they are not in the positions that they normally would cover. Is that correct? And that's in procedures and manual, and it doesn't have anything to do with staff. I ask, what is the procedure that we have used in the past when somebody is under investigation? As long as that procedure is applied, I have no problems. I will not tolerate double standards. That's discrimination in any way you cover it. And you know I'm on a warpath with discrimination within the town, within my fire department, my school, my educational unit also.
Okay, I just want to let you know, Ms. Wing, your time is up, but we have, in my experience of being on the school board, it's been done in both ways.
Then if you are doing it, it is discriminatory and you must stop. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and we will follow that principle. You change one or you change the other.
Ms. Wing, like I said, the history that I have seen,
I'm
it
saying,
has been
you
used
know, the
both
history
ways.
that you have seen, and I understand that, but I'm saying that you cannot have it both ways. You must make a selection, what is good, if it's for all of the students, all of the teachers, you follow through. You will not change up and say that we are going to do this for one sector and that for another.
Thank you for your comment, Ms. Wing. Ms. Allen.
I just have a brief question for Ms. O'Neill, please. You mentioned the various audits that were done and everything was fine. However, I noticed one of the items on the agenda under finance tonight says that the Board of Ed is resolving to adopt a corrective action plan in response to the independent audit. So would you please explain what the problem was and what the action plan is that's being implemented?
Sure. The corrective action plan, one of the things that we had an issue with, and I don't see it as a problem, is our school lunch fund exceeds the fund balance that we're recommended to have. So that's one of the things. And our response is, we acknowledge that it does, but we will be using those monies to offset unpaid balances from our student accounts.
Is that the only action?
There was a comment about technology, and it wasn't anything that we had done wrong. It was more of advice and things that we should be doing in the future, and our technology department is doing just that.
Right, can you tell us what it is?
Sure, I'll pull up the specific comment. So we had, let's see, the school lunch fund we mentioned. We have excess money in there, and we know it, and we acknowledge it, and we're going to use it to offset uncollected balances. And I think we put in, last year we had $18,000 in uncollected balances. During the 18-19 school year, $18,337.94 in uncollected funds. So that's where that money will go. We have information technology, where it's about cybersecurity, and the Director of Technology and CIO will ensure a formal cybersecurity assessment is completed. Then we had a comment on student activities, which is not the general fund, about making deposits within 72 hours. And we agree and will ensure that deposits will be made within 72 hours. And then they commented on closing out inactive clubs. We happen to do that every year. We just do it December or January because from last year, we have to make sure that the club starts up again. We have to speak to the principal to see if it is going to happen again, check if there's an advisor, and usually December or January, we give it to the board to close the accounts if they're inactive. And there are some instances where the principal will say, no, leave it open because it might be active next year.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Mary, I have a follow-up From Ms. Allen's comment about the school lunches. So I heard you say that last year ending 18-19, we ended with an $18,337 amount. Is that amount of lunches that were given out and children that were fed and then didn't pay for the lunch? Is that what? Okay.
Yes.
And do you have any idea, you may not know this because I didn't ask you ahead of time, but how many right now in November, about how much money we have in school lunches that are unpaid?
10 to 12,000.
10 to 12,000 district-wide?
Yes. We have a breakdown that will be provided to the buildings at our administrators meeting on Friday.
Is it possible to look into other options for school lunches? I mean, that it's 10 to 12,000 in November sounds like we're going to exceed 18,000 this school year. Are there any other options that other districts do or to manage the school lunch?
We don't quite have the percentage to do a universal free meal. If we can, and they've been doing really well looking through the data, if we can get up our free and reduced percentage up higher, we possibly could go with a universal free that would feed all of the kids regardless.
So with the universal free program, all of the students in every grade, or is it just certain grades?
Well, it could be district-wide, or you can go school by school. You could pick, you might have one school that is eligible based on free and reduced status that you could apply for, and only that school would be eligible for it. Or you could turn around and go completely district-wide.
Do you know the number that we would have to have of free and reduced lunch in order to meet that?
I believe we have to be at 60%, but I would want to verify that.
Okay.
And we are not quite there.
Okay. All right, so in order to pay that, you're saying we have money in a fund to try to offset and pay those?
Well, we do attempt to reach out to the parents, and some parents will submit and make the payment.
Question, none of the children go, Mary, none of the children are hungry though? They all, okay,
No child is denied any type of meal.
thank you.
No.
Okay, so we're going to move to approvals. Can I have a motion to approve the instructional personnel items presented to the board this evening, for approval this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Number 2 for non-instructional personnel items, section
I can't hear you.
E. I'm sorry. Motion to approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carried. Motion to approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Motion to approve the finance items presented to the board for approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the business items presented to the board for approval this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Motion to approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. any new business?
I think so, but I'm not sure that this is appropriate. I was gonna ask the board to approve the charges of the Education and Personnel Committee. So they were included in the packet. I don't know if I have to read through them or how that works, because oh, I'm so glad I'm not in the room.
Love these mics. So in the past, we put them all together, and the board would approve the charges of all the committees. It's really up to the board how they wish to do it, but that's just how we've done it in the past.
Okay, because I get the sense that it's going to take like the whole year to approve these. And I would just really like to post them.
Hope not.
So, well, they've been, we actually provided them like a month ago, and then we provided them 2 weeks ago, so I don't know.
Okay, I say,
It's up to you, I mean, I can
No, I
bring it up
say-
again next week, I mean,
No.
in 2 weeks or.
no, share it, like if you can read it and share it and we'll.
Oh, okay.
It depends on, so let me ask you, Ashley, are you in government relations, like how close are we to having, charges? So you could still formalize them? Would you be ready to have them, for our next?
For the work session? Yes.
And we'll be ready for, well, we've had safety and security for a while. Connie, would you mind waiting till the next meeting?
No,
So we can get the group.
that's fine, but I would prefer not to wait past that, because really I've had them ready since pretty much the beginning of the year, so.
I agree.
Okay, all right,
We've had ours. Certain committees have had theirs for a while too. We have a
okay,
couple.
all right.
So next meeting, everyone with their charges, we are going to approve.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there,
There'll be a resolution agenda item.
is there any other new business?
Can I add a question to the point that Ms. Dragic just made? And that is, you have like here, you're approving everything, but some of these things happen November the 9th and November passed, and you're approving these. So I'd like to know, how are you approving something that is already, are you back? My question is, how are you approving something that has already taken place, and she has put out what she wants to be approved, and you're reading approved, approved, approved. Why am I coming here and going through this for you to tell me it's approved and it's approved late? You're tardy on a lot of the things that are up here. Are you there? Thank you. David, want to give me an answer, please?
So
You want me to answer?
So in our work sessions, the work session is when we go through each of these items. So at this meeting, it is specifically for approval. So as a board, we've gone through each of these items.
Now, when did it get to us, the public?
At the work session. At the work
So if
session,
we're
we
not at
had,
the work session, we don't know what's going on. So if we want to know what's going on, we come to the work session, and then if we are all right with the approval, we don't need to come here. Because I know if it's on camera, the people who did not attend the work session have no idea about what's going on. Now, I attended the work session, I don't know what's going on.
so,
Because this is personnel, and you know, like a lot of it, you don't discuss personnel, right? So why am I here?
so Ms. Weems,
Yes,
again, at our work session, we literally, we go through it.
yes you do.
Some board members may have comments, or actual questions. Dr. Chase shares the information about each of the items, that we go through. So the work session is specifically for that, for us to work through the agenda. The regular session is to make approvals of what we've already discussed, as a board. So
Okay, so
here it's
what-
always going to, so for this meeting, it's always going to be this setup that you see here, it's always going to, for the most part, it's always gonna be this way that we're just going through and we are approving.
Okay, all right, now, but if you're approving things, and this is for the multicultural business youth educational service environment. So now, my question is, you have 3 people here who are gonna be monitors, and they're going with the students just on an overnight trip, right? For 3 days. Now, this is what I call safety for the students, not a building. So I want to know, safety-wise, for the children who left here, not like the children who went on went to Highland Park without the board knowing anything about it, and it was signed off and paid for, and then we were asked to approve it.
Ms. Williams, could you just point on your agenda, because you're talking about a specific item?
Yes.
If you could just point that out and then we're gonna move forward.
It's in D.
D?
D. Number 4, D.
D4?
Yeah, so see, basically, when I look at these things, page 4 out of 13.
Yes, it's approval of the chaperones
The
themselves.
chaperones, yeah. So my question is, I know most of them, well, I don't know Roberto Dominguez, but I'm just saying, this is where I want to know about the safety of the children. Not so much the buildings they're in, but actually, the children are safe. They're 3 days, where are they staying? How are they getting there? Where's all of that information down? It's not there. So if my
Mrs.
child was
Williams-
going someplace, and if I'm really concerned about the children in our group, in our school, our district.
So Mrs. Weems, what I understand about this particular item is that we approved these 3 staff members to go on the trip that they went on. We're approving payments to them.
They didn't take any children?
No, they took children with them, but we're just, this approval is
Right, I
just
understand
for
that, but
paying them.
right, but I want to know, where's the approval for the children going? Your responsibility, our responsibility is seeing to it that it's safe. How are they getting there? Where are they staying? All of that stuff. That's safety for the children.
So
not the building.
So Ms. Weems, the safety for the chaperones are in charge of the student group.
Well, there was
3
somebody
chaperones-
in charge going with the children leaving from Richard J. Vail and going over to Solomon Schechter. Child comes back with a black face painted black and big red lips.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Weems, for your question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't want you to appreciate it. I want you to
I
say
know,
how
but
we're going to see to
gonna move
it that the
forward.
children are.
I appreciate your
agree that
concerns.
you
We
need to
have
move forward.
3,
Move forward
we
on how
have 3
children are going to be safe.
chaperones that are there, that were there on that
Well, what do
trip,
you
that
know
were in
about where the
charge
children
of
are going,
the
how they are
chaperones.
getting there, when do they leave, and when do they get back? When is it the responsibility of Greenberg Central School District, which I pay taxes for, and I want those children protected? So now, what do you all know about the trip? Anybody up there on the board?
So I'm trying to actually look up more information to answer you.
But you're approving it, you see?
No, we just approved payment, so that is something different. But as far as the trip, we do have a policy that our administration can take the children on trips.
That's right.
Up to 150 miles of our location without having to get permission from the board. We have a policy that we trust the administration to make that decision. So I'm trying to get the information for you because it's very possible that this trip was within 150 miles and then we would not have approved the trip in its specificity per se, because the administration would have approved that with their ability to do that, but we still need to approve the payment.
Where is that approval in procedures and policy? That they have the right to do that? I think you're giving a great deal of license to an administration without looking at the actual jeopardy that you're putting the school district in. And that's what you're here for. You're to see to it. That's your job. We voted you in to have that done. Is there anybody up there that does not understand that? Mr. Pineda, do you understand that? No, he doesn't. Thank you, Mr. Pineda. Whatever.
So we have to.
And I want you to know, you are putting my house in jeopardy. I'm responsible for my kids. I missed your presentation, but it sounded good, and I'm sorry, and I'm glad it's starting at kindergarten. That's where it should start, not in the 12th and 10th and 11th grade. You're welcome. But I'm also, I look at your staff, I think it's 8460, but I want to integrate staff. And I'm glad you have Asian. One of my kids, you know, and I want more. I want to see the person in kindergarten is in the children's role, safely recognizing that there is a great role. So keep up the good work, and I'm sorry I missed it. But I know how to do school. I'm sorry. You know, I have no kids, you know that, right?
You have to, and it's guidance counselor, so he's going to
Okay, board, we have two resolutions to approve. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the engagement letter dated November 7th, 2019 between the district and Ruskin Mouse School, Feltashek, PC, to perform independent investigations and/or serve as a hearing officer in school-related matters on an as-needed basis. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the board president to execute the said engagement letter. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. This is the second resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the engagement letter dated November 14th, 2019 between the district and Dr. John Beerworth to perform independent investigations and/or serve as a hearing officer in school-related matters on an as-needed basis. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the board president to execute the said engagement letter. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Is there any other new business? Okay. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The meeting is adjourned.
Stamford, Connecticut.